Welcome to New Possibilities. I speak truth to power without fear. So during the election, you had people like Umar Johnson, you had people like Boyce Watkins, you had people like Tariq Nasheed basically downplaying the significance of the election, basically suggesting that there was no difference between the candidates running, basically suggesting that black people should not vote. In fact, there was an actual don't vote campaign going on. And every day, with every decision that President Trump makes, we are reminded of just how wrong those misleaders are. And it's a shame that we have people like this actually leading our community, because they're leading our people nowhere when they advise people essentially not to vote in federal elections. I mean, we're reminded of how wrong these people were when we see that Donald Trump plans to promptly fill 120 vacancies on the lower federal courts. These courts decide all kinds of decisions that directly affect our lives, directly affect our constitutional rights, affect issues like affirmative action, First Amendment rights, our rights to be free from unreasonable searches and seizures, issues dealing with criminal justice, issues dealing with all kinds of rights. All those things are on the line. But yet you had these misleaders telling you and me that elections don't matter. When we see that this man, Donald Trump, has appointed someone that is a supporter of Justice Scalia, someone that is essentially going to take similar positions that are detrimental to black people as Justice Scalia did. He's appointed this man, Gorsuch, to the Supreme Court. But yet you have these people telling black people that elections don't matter. And who knows how many more Supreme Court justices this man Donald Trump will appoint. The direction of the court is probably going to go even further to the right. And basically, a right-wing court will be detrimental to the interests of African Americans. It was a right-wing court that struck down and gutted key provisions of the Voting Rights Act. Who knows what else is down the pike with this president appointing these right-wing judges on the lower levels and on the higher levels of federal courts. But yet you had these people telling black people that elections don't matter. When you look at the fact that Donald Trump helped pass a bill, well, it's been passed in the House, passed a bill that will jeopardize the health insurance of millions of people. Millions of people risk losing their health insurance. And there is no more vital issue than health. But yet people want to tell you that these elections don't matter. Every day, we're reminded of just how wrong your Dr. Boyce Watkins was, just how wrong your Tariq Nasheed was, just how wrong Umar Johnson is about these elections, because these things affect our lives. When we look at the fact that Donald Trump plans to possibly send thousands of troops to Afghanistan, a place that the United States has been in for years upon years. From what I understand, that may be the United States' longest war, a war that has accomplished very little, a war that has no end in sight, an endless war. But yet this man, Donald Trump, wants to send more people over there to fight, jeopardizing more American lives, killing more Afghan people. But yet you have these people who advised you and me not to vote. Yet you have these misleaders who basically said elections don't matter. When you look at the situation in Syria, the fact that Donald Trump ordered bombings in Syria, airstrikes in Syria, that continue to even recently. I think the dates were May 5th and 6th, where there were airstrikes there, killing dozens of innocent civilians. If you think that there will be no blowback from that, you're sadly mistaken. Instead of fighting terrorism, this man is creating future generations of terrorists. But yet you have these misleaders telling you and me elections don't matter. When you look at a situation like the killing of that young brother, Jordan Edwards, the murder of that brother, the cop that killed that young African-American brother, a 15-year-old brother, snuffed out. That cop's been charged with murder. And when we look at the continuing problem of police brutality, and the fact that you have a Justice Department that doesn't view fighting police brutality as a priority, doesn't view fighting racial profiling as a priority. When you look at that, it becomes abundantly clear how important elections are. Because the president appoints the Attorney General. And here you have a racist, a Southern racist in charge of the Justice Department. A man who, despite these problems of police brutality and stuff like that, this man wants to reevaluate and reconsider and contemplate whether or not consent decrees are even necessary. Consent decrees that were negotiated, consent decrees that were reached after intensive investigations. This man wants to put those back on the table and possibly get rid of some of those consent decrees. Because in his mind, it's all about law and order. It's not about fighting against police brutality and racial profiling. But yet you have these people that told you and me that elections don't matter. I mean, every day we are reminded of just how wrong and how foolish those people were to advise people not to vote in the federal elections. When we look at this travel ban, this ban against Muslims, this discrimination against a religion that many African Americans practice, including myself. When we look at that ban and how it's been struck down by courts, we're reminded of just how important elections are. But yet you have these misleaders telling you and me that elections don't matter.